Hey guys, what's up? It's the
Movie Buzz. Welcome back for Loki episode 2.
yeah, we're really excited. We watched episode 1 last week.
It
It's
was
pretty
really
awesome.
good. Yeah. So hopefully good shit happens this week.
Yeah, what do you think is gonna happen this episode?
Oh, I don't know. I have
Yeah, I don't really either.
yeah.
I guess we're gonna. Do you think we're gonna? We might meet evil Loki, which would
Yeah.
be kind of cool. But other than that,
It's just I don't really know what's gonna happen because I'm thinking it could either go kind of slow where we're still learning
yeah, we
more
might
things,
just learn more
or
about the
we
TVA.
might just jump into Loki realizing, oh, I have an evil twin out there, what or evil version of me.
Timeline variant thing. Yeah,
So, anyways, we're just gonna
get started. Yeah.
So this time we watched the whole episode.
The whole thing. I think that's a better way of doing it. We took a few notes and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but also I felt last episode we took more pauses throughout because there's just so much going on versus this episode.
There's some clear points.
Yeah, and it was kind of repetitive, as a concept throughout the episode. Loki was being a detective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were kind of just following that path, so there wasn't a lot that was new until the very end. We didn't learn anything new really until the end.
Yeah, this episode for me was really, really good in a lot of ways. That it fleshed out the TVA more, while simultaneously being a very fun cop detective thing where Loki and
Owen Wilson are
are
partners and detective. I love that part.
Yeah, and they had their Sherlock Holmes caps on.
Yes.
They were really thinking.
Trying to find the variant Loki and their teamwork and stuff. That was probably the highlight of the episode, getting to see their dynamic together and stuff.
Yeah, the other thing I really liked was now technically this was the thing last episode, but we saw more of it this episode, which was the TVA as a setting is really interesting because it's got this great feeling of both grandeur and whoa mixed with mundanity.
Yes. It feels like your basic 1950s office where everyone's working 9 to 5,
right?
But also feels like this futuristic space castle,
right? And it feels like something immense. It feels like the way that you feel when you look at wow, it's the White House, or but then you see, or it's this big government building, and then you just see the people working in there, and they're just kind of working, and they're just got files, and it's got that kind of feel to it of powerful and important, but so mundane, and all the people in it don't necessarily have anything any greater goal. They aren't I'm doing this for. No, it's just they're just there doing their job.
They also don't seem to be accessing or taking advantage of what it seems to be this great place. It kind of feels like it's Disneyland and they're working in the back office of Disneyland,
right?
And they have no desire to ever explore Disneyland.
It's except for maybe Mobius, all of these people
just wants to jet ski. That's his big thing.
All these people seemingly have no ambition past TVA.
Well, past their office, really.
Right, and it's not even
think about Casey. Casey only sits at that one desk. He doesn't go anywhere else in TVA. Really.
It feels weird. It feels
but they're created by the Time Lord, right? And they're created to do a job. It's
right, but in terms of what we're thinking of here, what kind of beings are they? Have they been around since the dawn of time, or are they constantly making new ones?
Well, I think they have to make new ones because a lot of them die.
Right, clearly they die. They're not not fragile. They're not immortal.
It's bees, because we're the movie Buzz. But I think it's bees.
They're bees.
The queen bee, the Time Lords, make the worker bees and everything.
Right.
And then the worker bees only live for so long, carry out the work. But you don't have a worker bee go and be oh, I want to be the queen bee. No, the worker bee goes, gets pollen, comes back, does its job.
Right.
That's it. Doesn't do anything. And I feel it kind of does look like a hive in a way, too.
Right. I also think that, some of the things that, this is kind of skipping forward in the episode, but we'll talk about it a little more later. Is there's the agent that Loki captures, kind of near the beginning of the episode. At the end of the episode, when they find her, she's saying it's real, and she's kind of, it's almost like she's realized something, that maybe there is this kind of this buy-in that everybody at the TVA has. Like, they're bought into the idea of the TVA and what the TVA does and the timeline.
Oh, like, because what they talked about Owen Loki was kind of like the world in a sense isn't real,
right?
Because everything's pre-decided for you, and you know what I mean. And Owen's like, "Oh, I work at the TVA. That's just what's been decided, and I'm happy with that. Like, there's no need
I got lucky with my...
There's no need to branch out from what the path that's been given to me. But what if she's saying it's real? Like, fate is real. Like, choosing your destiny is real. Like, there's more to the life beyond what was written by the Time Lords.
Yeah, this story is really fun and interesting, but it does have a lot of very complex themes. Well, they're not complex. They're simple. They're just big picture themes. Like, do you have choice? Like, is that a real thing? Or is everything kind of predetermined?
Yeah.
Now, in this case, it's basically said to be predetermined, but we're not 100% sure that's not going to be...
See, I would say it's not predetermined in this case, because the fact that variants can occur, well, then how good can the predetermination be if something can screw up and create a variant? Like, if, for example, when we saw Loki become the current variant we're watching, Hulk got upset, walked down the stairs, smashed Tony Stark, the briefcase flew, Loki picked up the briefcase, took it. But if it was predetermined, the Hulk would have never opened the door in that way and never would have smashed Tony. Like, that's where I'm like, okay, it can't be that predetermined, considering people are constantly messing up the timeline, and you need Minutemen to put people back on the timeline, right?
Right. Like, the general timeline, the way it works, isn't like people are always going to do the same thing. But there's like an expected outcome or a wanted outcome by the timekeepers that they've been trying to maintain.
Yeah, but I think like people can always screw it up.
Right.
So I'm thinking free will is real. So I don't really think much happened in this episode besides we saw Loki working with the TVA, kind of becoming a detective.
We saw the relationship between Mobius, Owen Wilson, and Loki develop some more. We saw a little bit more into what the TVA does, how they operate, a little bit more of the power dynamics between Owen Wilson and Owen Wilson's boss, the woman in the...
And I think, like, one of the big things this episode was just the Loki we see, the TVA Loki, figuring out where the variant Loki they're trying to hunt could potentially be hiding, right? And thinking of the theory, where could you hide? And what he discovers is, in a natural disaster, something that's going to happen anyways, if they go and they try and mess up
that was cool,
the natural disaster, it won't count as a variant because the natural disaster is going to happen anyways, and it's going to wipe everything clean. So if people are going to die in a part of the timeline, well, then that's the best place to hide, because that timeline's going to disappear fully. Like that. It's just going to stop, so there's no need to pick up a variant in that timeline, because no variant can continue to exist beyond the natural disaster that kills everyone off.
Exactly. So that's where he was hiding. It was an interesting line of logic that I thought was really fun. The other thing, in terms of other parts of this episode, was generally speaking like, so we started the episode with they hunt Loki, and there was like a kind of fake 1985.
Yeah, they kind of made you feel like it was maybe a different time.
Like a different era.
Like,
and then
1600s, 1800s, like something around there, just because of the way they were dressed in.
But it was like a medieval festival or something. I thought that was a good bit, especially because like they drew it out, like they put the location, and then they have it going to the time, and you expect to see like 1600s, 1500s, and then you see like 1985.
Yeah, because it's just a medieval festival of people playing, like, I don't know, dress up.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I mean, another comment we wrote personally that we didn't like during that opening scene is we're finding the show has pretty bad lighting.
That's my only. Honestly, other than that, I love the show.
But I understand giving the dark ambiance, but when there are moments you can't see people's faces, and we have a good TV, our TV brightness is up, all that stuff, and you still can't see people's faces.
It's just not clear.
In situations where you know they want you to see the face. It's not, when we see Loki, like, the variant being in, like, that dark cloak, obviously they don't want you to see the face. But when we see, like, Owen Wilson in the elevator with Loki, they want us to see his face, but because of the lighting and, like, it kind of feels like the filter on the show makes it harder sometimes.
It just feels like sometimes the lighting needs to be tweaked a little bit so it's easier to tell what's happening and see what's going on. But other than that, I've really enjoyed the show. But that's like the main. It's like a small thing because it's just inhibiting you from seeing the show properly. So you can say it if you want. Loki, the evil one, is
a girl.
A girl. The variant Loki isn't really Loki.
Yeah.
It's not Tom Hiddleston, at least.
I mean, it doesn't even look like the female version of what I would imagine Loki to look like.
Yeah, it's not even like...
She's blonde.
She's blonde. She doesn't have black hair. She's random. The bombshell drop of the episode is just like, oh, that's not what I expected.
Well, but you could tell the minute we actually got to see the Loki, like, in the cloak, when she came out before she revealed her face, you could tell it was a woman just because of her, like, silhouette in the cloak.
Right. Well, that was the only time it became obvious.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, is that a woman? Is that Loki? Wait, what? And then, boom.
The other thing is that Loki, like, how does this work? Was Loki a variant at birth? Like, was this variant of Loki at birth the wrong Loki? Like, they were born
we don't really understand how the variant changes of Loki work because we saw that montage at the beginning of Owen Wilson talking about all the variants can be different forms of Loki and not all look like Loki. There have been, like, super buff Lokis, kind of like Hulk-esque Lokis.
No, but they all had Loki's face.
Yeah, but their body changed, everything changed. We still don't know how they changed. Maybe going through your first time portal, you change or something.
Right, but all I'm saying is that the way that these time variants work is you start with regular Loki and you have to get to... You start with some semblance of a regular Loki.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to become the variant. Even if it looks a lot different, you need to start with base Loki because it's on the main timeline and then it diverges.
This one was female Loki.
Right, meaning that...
Which is genius, because it's like, how else are you going to hide? Everyone's looking for male Loki. Or
exactly.
Something with Loki's face. She doesn't resemble Loki at all.
She didn't have the same hair. Now, maybe that's on purpose, because she dyed it. Anyways, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and then the episode ends with variant... Well, they're both variant Loki and TVA Loki
going through the portal together.
Yeah, and no one being able to catch them, kind of thing. And they end up who knows where. So I'm hoping next episode is kind of an episode focused in on Loki and the female variant of him. Like, I'm hoping it's...
Well, that's probably what it's going to be.
It's just going to be like, I don't really want to see Owen Wilson. I don't really want to see the TVA too much next.
We're going to see Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson's going to be in deep shit.
Yeah, but I want more, like, just explaining that part. Like, a lot of, like, one-on-one time with him and the variant. And then, like, a few bits here and there of, like, oh. Like, this is the...
This is the show.
Like, this is what's happening with the TVA. Like, kind of like how in WandaVision you'd have, like, mostly Wanda's life, but then you'd have a little bit of, like,
yes.
You know, the secret special intelligence people, whatever they're called, like, in their little command center right outside her little bubble. But you barely saw them at the beginning. But you got that they were there. But I'm, like, you know?
Yeah, I think personally that is they might, while Loki is not around, they might start showing us what the time people are.
Maybe.
Like, they might have a scene with, like, somebody one of the Time Variant Authority, like lizard people, time
The Lords.
the lords, yeah, they might like make an appearance talking about what's happening, you know what I mean? Or like someone might be informing them and we might see like their shadow go like kill him or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it overall. I thought a lot of the writing was really good, a lot
Yeah.
of the jokes. So I think the show's really good so far and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. So anyways, thanks for watching episode 2
of the Movie Buzz.
Yeah. We'll be back next week with episode 3. It's exciting. We'll probably find out way more then.
Well, I hope so.
Well, we found out Varian Loki's a girl, so more on that next week. Anyways, thanks for listening.
Adios.